Good day, children. This is in continuation with what we did with the analysis of salt. As I told you, for the analysis of salt, we have to identify the cation or the anion. The cation part we've already discussed last time, and this time we are going to talk about the identification of anion. For the identification of anion, we have to treat the salt with dilute acid. This will give a gas. We will first study the physical appearance of the gas, and then on the basis of that we will perform a confirmatory test. If the gas is established, if the identity of the gas is established, then we know what the anion is in the salt. Alright, so one by one we will talk about different anions in the salt. Identification of anions. The first thing is you have to add a dilute acid and then we have to observe the gas. I have again made a table just as I had made for the cations, where I have written the physical properties of the gas evolved, on the basis of which we will make a guess of the gas evolved, and then we will perform a confirmation test. What is the test and what is the observation? If the gas is confirmed, we write the confirmed gas, and on the basis of this confirmed gas, what anion is inferred from the test. So the first one is, on the addition of dilute acid to the salt, a colorless, odorless gas is produced with brisk effervescence. Now, because it is colorless or odorless and brisk effervescence comes out of carbon dioxide gas, so the probable gas is carbon dioxide. To confirm it, we will perform a test that we will pass the gas through lime water. If the lime water turns milky, then the carbon dioxide gas is confirmed, and if this gas is confirmed, then definitely the anion present in the salt is either a carbonate or a bicarbonate. Similarly, if on the addition of dilute acid to the given salt, a colorless gas with a smell of rotten eggs is produced, then maybe the gas is H2S. To confirm it, we will bring a moist lead acetate paper near the gas. If this paper, which is otherwise white in color, turns silvery black in color, then H2S gas is confirmed. And if H2S gas is confirmed, definitely the anion present in the salt is the sulfide radical. Then, on the addition of dilute acid to the given salt, if a colorless gas is produced with the smell of burning sulfur with brisk effervescence, which also causes an irritation in the throat, then maybe the gas is SO2. Here I would like to tell you that quite a number of properties of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide are the same. For example, this is also colorless and is produced with a brisk effervescence. This is also colorless and is produced with brisk effervescence. Only this one has a smell. This one was odorless. This one has a smell. But then this is a physical property. Anyway, on the basis of this physical property, we may guess that the gas is sulfur dioxide. Now this gas also turns lime water milky. Mind it, if you are asked to distinguish between carbonate and sulfite or carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, don't ever mention lime water turning milky. Both the gases turn lime water milky. So there is one test. You bring a moist potassium dichromate paper near the gas. Only sulfur dioxide will turn it from orange to green. Carbon dioxide will not do this. So you will use this test to distinguish between carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, or between carbonate or sulfite. If SO2 gas is confirmed, then definitely the salt is either a sulfide salt or a bisulfide salt. Then, on the addition of dilute acid, if there is no visible change, like no gas is evolved, no effervescence is there, no odor is there, nothing, so maybe the salt contains a sulfate radical in it. So I have written maybe a sulfate salt. Now to confirm this, you will add a barium chloride solution. This will give white precipitates will be formed. If on the addition of barium chloride white precipitates are formed, then definitely the salt contains a sulfate radical. There is another test. Add excess of dilute acid, the same acid which you had added initially. The same acid will be added in excess, and if these white precipitates which are formed, they do not dissolve, then it is confirmed that the salt contains a sulfate radical. You can be asked to distinguish between sulfite and sulfate. So you should know both the tests, all the observations and the result. Then, if a colorless gas is produced with a pungent choking odor, then maybe the gas is HCl. We have identified the gas on the basis of the odor. Now we will bring a glass rod dipped in ammonium hydroxide near the test tube containing HCl. Dense white fumes are seen. Now these two gases are complementary to each other. If you are testing HCl, you will bring an ammonium hydroxide rod dipped near the gas. If you are testing ammonia, you will bring a rod dipped in HCl close to ammonia, and this will give you dense white fumes. Very often asked question in the board. What do you observe when a glass rod dipped in ammonium hydroxide is brought near HCl? So the observation is dense white fumes are seen. Alright, so if dense white fumes are seen, HCl gas is confirmed, and definitely the salt contains a chloride radical. There is another test to confirm the presence of chloride radical. We can add a drop of silver nitrate solution. This will give you a curdy white precipitates. This also confirms the presence of chloride radical in the given salt. So these were the 5 anions. There is one more left. The physical property of the gas same. The headings are the same. Now mild brown fumes are produced if you add a dilute acid to a salt. Brown gas is NO2 only. Nitrogen dioxide is the reddish brown gas. Then you add a concentrated H2SO4 to it. This will produce dense reddish brown fumes. On the basis of these fumes, we can confirm that the gas produced is nitrogen dioxide. Now, if nitrogen dioxide is confirmed, then the salt contains a nitrate radical. But for that, we perform what is known as a brown ring test. To perform a brown ring test, we take the salt and we add freshly prepared ferrous sulfate solution. Freshly prepared means when the test is to be done, there only ferrous sulfate solution is made. And then we add a few drops of concentrated sulfuric acid to the test tube. At the junction of ferrous sulfate and H2SO4, a brown ring will be formed. This brown ring is a sure shot test for a nitrate radical. The name of the test is also brown ring test. We perform a brown ring test, I have written. So nitrate radical is confirmed. Now what are the possible questions which can be asked out of what we've done just now? The first one is describe one chemical test that would enable you to distinguish between the following pairs of chemicals. Sodium chloride and sodium nitrate. I hope you observed that the cation in both of them is the same. So basically they want you to distinguish between chloride and nitrate. So because you are identifying the anions, what you have to do is you have to add dilute acid to the salt. When you will add this, you know that a colorless gas will be produced which has a choking odor. You've just written. A colorless gas will be produced which has a pungent choking odor. So the gas may be HCl. You will write about these tests and then confirm the presence of chloride radical. And for the nitrate, you may either write that this gas is absent over here, or straight away write that we will perform a brown ring test and this will confirm the presence of nitrate. Then calcium sulfate and calcium chloride. Again you notice that the cation in the salts is the same. You have to distinguish between sulfate and chloride. So add dilute acid to both of them. There will be no visible change, so maybe sulfate, and then you write the confirmatory test. And then for chloride, you write that it produces that odor, and then you add silver nitrate, curdy white precipitates are formed, chloride is confirmed. Next one is on a particular observation. What will you observe when barium chloride solution is added to ferrous sulfate solution? So the answer would be, what will be the answer? The answer will be that white precipitates will be formed. With every sulfate solution, barium chloride added, white precipitates are formed. How will the action of dilute hydrochloric acid on sodium carbonate and sodium sulfite enable you to distinguish between these two compounds? So again, sodium is common to both of them. You have to distinguish between carbonate and sulfite. Mind you, I told you carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide properties are quite same. So don't talk about the lime water test. You will first write about the addition of dilute acid, a colorless odorless gas produced with brisk effervescence, colorless gas produced with brisk effervescence which has a smell of burning sulfur. Then pass both the gases through moist potassium dichromate paper. The one which turns it from orange to green is sulfite, the other one is carbonate. Alright, so this was regarding the type of questions which can be asked from here. Now the last part of the topic is, I want to tell you something about amphoteric metals or metallic oxides or hydroxides. We have amphoteric metals also. What are amphoteric metals? Ampho, basically the term comes from both ways, the way you've studied about amphibians in biology. Similarly, amphoteric metals or metallic oxides and hydroxides, They are the ones which can react with acid as well as with the base to form salt and water. Such metals are called amphoteric metals. Their oxides are known as amphoteric oxides. Their hydroxides are called amphoteric hydroxides. I will just take the example of a few. For example, zinc, lead and aluminium. So zinc or zinc oxide or zinc hydroxide, lead oxide and lead hydroxide, or aluminium oxide and aluminium hydroxide are amphoteric metals or oxides or hydroxides. Similarly, we have tin also, but anyway, we will limit ourselves to these three. Now, in order to show you zinc oxide, for example, zinc oxide can react with HCl and form zinc chloride and water. Zinc oxide can also react with an alkali. This is an acid and this is an alkali. So it can react with an alkali also and form sodium zincate and water. Similarly, metal. I am taking an example of a metal, aluminium metal. Aluminium on reacting with HCl will form aluminium chloride and hydrogen will be given out. Normal reaction, metal reacting with a dilute acid forming salt and giving out hydrogen, you know that. Similarly, aluminium can also react with an alkali. Now, all metals are basic in nature, you know that. But this one is also reacting with an alkali and it is forming salt and hydrogen. Salt is sodium aluminate and hydrogen is given out. So this is metal because it can react with an acid as well as with an alkali to give salt and hydrogen or salt and water. That is why these are known as either amphoteric metals or amphoteric oxides or amphoteric hydroxides. What are the possible questions? Write a balanced equation for aluminium or zinc when it is warmed with caustic soda. Caustic refers to basically alkaline. This is a common name of sodium hydroxide. Soda refers to Na. So alkaline soda matlab sodium hydroxide. How will you separate aluminium oxide from iron oxide? Now out of these, aluminium oxide is an amphoteric oxide. This one is not. So you reacted with NaOH. This one will react and form sodium aluminate. This one will not react. So this is how you separate the two. So you can write the balanced reaction with aluminium and zinc also. And well, this is all we had in analytical chemistry. There are a number of questions already given in this, but I will give you a few later in assignment also. Alright children, have a good day.